Joining us on this episode is Ruan. Beginning his career as a graphic designer, Ruan now has been a working photographer based in South Africa for over 15 years. Carving out a sustainable work-life balance has allowed him to be present and connect with his clients in a way he never could before, giving him the space to create magic, but not forcing the pressure on himself, ultimately aligning with his belief that being creatively well-rested creates the best results. I'm Kyle Wilson, and this is The Photographer's Problem. I'm catching you kind of late in the day. Yeah, what time is it in South Africa right now?
8 p.m. in the evening.
8 p.m., okay. And where in South Africa are you at?
George in the Garden Route.
Okay, is that for somebody that only kind of knows where maybe like Cape Town would be? Where is that kind of?
For George is sort of in between on the coast, close to the coast, between Cape Town and Port Elizabeth, sort of south at the bottom of South Africa.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Way at the bottom there, cool.
And it's a nice awesome. Sort of area with forest and mountain and beach access. And
oh man, that's beautiful. I've never been, but every time I actually just interviewed another South African photographer, Skilly's brother.
Yes.
That's his name either. Jacques' brother. Last week, and yeah, both of you guys have access to what looks to be like really amazing locations. I'm in the Midwest in America, and it's corn. We just put corn. Cornfields and golf courses.
Sure. Yeah, and it's pretty nice area to stay in terms of locations and areas. So yeah, we're quite happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Based. And I only know about you really what I just kind of like looked online. How long have you been a wedding photographer?
For about 15 years, I think. 15, I think, going now for the 16th season. And
has that been full-time?
Full-time for 10 years. I think going, the 10th season now. So it's full-time for about 10, and then 5-6 years that was sort of part-time, working a Monday to Friday, and then weekends shooting weddings.
Yeah. What were you transitioning from?
Graphic design. I majored in graphic design, and then just sort of transitioned to photography part-time, then full-time, and then managed to leave the day job.
That's amazing. I feel like that's a pretty common, like, I feel like I speak with a lot of either graphic designers or art majors of some sort in the, like, design space, because you still have to do that for your career now. You have to wear one of those hats. Yes. So it's nice that you have the power to do that.
And it helps with composition, layouts. When you shoot and you sort of see your composition quite easily, it does help sort of that basis when you work.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful tool in your toolkit as you do the transition. You've been doing this for a really, really long time now, and I say that as someone who else has also been full-time for 10 years or so, and now I'm on the phase out of it. Have you found yourself wondering what the next thing is going to be? Are you going to stay a wedding and elopement photographer, or do you think that there's a career path that's going to change things up here?
The business is split in two, with the wedding focus. I think that's about 80% of the work. And then the second part of the business is studio work, business portraits and family portraits. And that's sort of the backup when I get to an age where running around as a wedding photographer might not be that comfortable. Then that's sort of the idea, to move more into a studio space, that becoming the major part of the business.
I love that. So you have a long-term plan to remain a working photographer.
At this stage, yes. I think I've been away from design for so long that going back as a designer might be, I will have to relearn all the new programs and apps and everything required for it.
Oh man, that's amazing. I really like to hear that. I speak with a lot of photographers at kind of our age and or tenure within the business, and it kind of goes one direction or the other. And I actually really often hear people are just looking to expand their business and bring on associates or shoot more work, but not doing it themselves.
Yes.
Are you doing everything? Are you a one-man operation? Do you have a team or a partner or anything that's doing other pieces of it?
One-man operation, and then every now and then I've got second shooter coming in, and I booked one today for an upcoming wedding. So it's every now and then someone helping out, but most of the time it's just me doing the office work, shooting, and sort of growing the business.
That's incredible. That's a really accomplished career. I was looking through your work this morning, and it's really stunning work. And I obviously found you through the International Wedding Photographer of the Year Awards. That's how I reached out initially from the Break the Rules contest, and your work submitted there was really, really amazing as well. Do you submit to contests a lot? Is that something that you frequently do at this point in the game?
I do. It's incredible marketing. If you get placed, your name gets out there, and it helps for SEO and visibility. If you manage to get in, I think for the one for International Wedding Photographer of the Year got published in a local newspaper, and then you get messages from people saying, "Hey, I saw your work on the front cover of the newspaper," and that promotes your work. So the award itself doesn't mean much in context of the business, but that promotion is invaluable. Once you get the backlinks from blogs and
the local part is really interesting. I don't feel like I hear that too often, and contests are such an interesting thing because sometimes they're so vague as to what they're specifically looking for. I was speaking with someone last week on the Rangefinder Top 30 Awards, which are just prolifically vague. And so I think the Break the Rules contest is really specific, which is really amazing. But the fact that it makes its way to your local paper and then you find a lot of local work from that. Are you frequently traveling, or do you stay in your local region or market for the majority of your work?
Majority of the work is local, sort of in the regional area, provincial area, and then some of the work I try and get outside. So you do get inquiries from all across the country, and then if the opportunity arises, you travel and shoot in amazing places.
I love that. It's so great. And are you still trying to do like 40 weddings a year, or are you at this like sweet spot where you're like, I remember trying to get to 25 or 30 so that I could have some breaks, some weekends off, some Saturdays to enjoy?
I think 2019 was sort of the peak. That was the peak, shooting a lot all the time. And I think we at home, we talk about it quite often. We only realized at the end of that year how crazy the year was. When you're in it, you work and you forget about how busy you actually are. And at the end of that year, we realized it's too much. It's getting too crazy. And then things slow down a bit. And I wouldn't say I'm selective, but we have a certain amount of weddings and family time. And now the balance seems absolutely perfect. To have enough family time that you're energized when you shoot, it's sort of the one helps the other. That balance works out quite well.
What parts of being energized when you worked with your clients, or finding that balance, of what's been the apparent benefits within your work?
Just connecting with clients. Once you're well rested and not overworked, you can connect easier. You can listen better. You can shoot 14, 16-hour days if it's needed. You can shoot longer and stay focused throughout the day. And that's a big thing too, especially the evening when it can take a toll on your body, shooting late at night. Just being aware and present and well rested makes a big difference if you're not shooting every weekend. And it works for me, I think.
Do you have a lot of 14 and 16-hour days? I'd be interested in what the wedding market in South Africa is, if like the packages are totally different and skewed than, say, my Western weddings.
I've had a couple, and I think the average for me is about 12, sometimes slightly more than 12, but 12 hours is about the average for me. And then I've got a package option.
That's still quite a bit. I feel like I get 12 only when if they have a ceremony and a reception at the same venue, it really knocks it down to the 8 or 10 hour spot. But if they're gonna go, hey, we're getting ready at this hotel, and then we're having a ceremony at this location, and we're getting a reception at this location. Now I'm into that 10 to 12 area. Is your 12-hour because of that, or because of some other logistical part of a wedding day there?
Just the setup. It's usually this weekend I'm shooting from 10 till 10. So I start at 10 o'clock, do some setting the scene shots, and then move into the makeup and everything. And the ceremony is quite early on Saturday, and then going through the details and shooting up to about 10 o'clock when most of the party images are done. And then if there really is something happening, we'll shoot whatever's needed after that. But for the most part, sort of 10 p.m. is then the cutoff.
Oh, that's amazing. Kind of a random question, just because I'm a really big fan of a particular photographer, and I feel like I see some of his work inspired in yours. Sam Hurd out of DC.
Yes.
Are you familiar at all?
Yes, no, I received the email this morning or this afternoon from a workshop in the
UK,
the
London workshop. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought,
yeah.
Cross
I'm a big
fingers,
fan. I'm arguably too big of a fan for too long of a time, and I really love his style work. I see a lot of it in little pieces of your engagement sessions.
Sure. Okay, that's amazing to hear. No, it's just the way, not only the work, but the person and the influence on social media, what he talks about and argues about. It's good topics to follow and engage in.
Yeah, I've consistently for a long time said to me at least, I've met him a number of times now, and he feels like the smartest photographer I've met. Maybe even one of the smartest people.
Yes,
he's just
definitely
highly intelligent and also loves to just stir the pot with his opinions. And I love it. I'm so for it.
But you can't just accept everything the way it is. Then that sort of pushes the progress to stir the pot and have communication and discussions.
Yeah, he does such a good job of instituting a new idea or pushing his own envelope for a period of time and then saying, cool, I've figured out this technique, I've practiced it and played with it in controlled environments and now performed it in a wedding scene, and now I'm going to use it for a year and then either put it in the toolkit or put it away. Do you have stuff like that in you're 10 years in? So I'd be interested like what you're doing to keep it energized and fresh, and also just keep yourself excited about the work that you're doing.
The same from him. I got using a prism and sort of focusing more on elements that can change something average into something amazing. Using a chocolate box cover that's got a prism sort of imprinted and just taking that apart and flipping that, sort of bringing small things to make sure that I can make a scene more interesting and more exciting than it is.
Oh, that's awesome. I have a little bag in my Pelican toolkit it's like one of the little pouches in my box is just full of nuts and bolts and pipe ends and little diamonds I stole off of wedding tables. I was like, that'll work for a little bit for something.
And you get those small crystals. I've got a small black bag that's got everything in, and then depending on the day that's coming ahead, I'll take this out or that out. If I'm flying somewhere, then you leave everything at home and you just take the plastic stuff.
The prism gets me caught at security regularly to the point I had to pull it out of the bag. I was getting stopped every time, and I went, what is this? Oh, it's the prism in my bag.
Out of safety, I usually keep it in the checked luggage, and luckily it gets through every time and doesn't get lost in the process.
That's probably much smarter. Yeah, it's that, and I have a couple of Leica lenses that they said show up 2 dents on the X-ray, and they can't tell what it is, which I think says a lot for the Leica lens.
Yeah.
I'd be interested, obviously, with some questions that I've asked throughout this. I don't always hit all of them, but I'm kind of in this really great position with you where I don't know a ton about your business, and you've been doing it successfully for a long time. What throughout this has been one of the prouder moments of your really established career?
I think when you get to an incredible place, shooting in Namibia in the desert, or sort of somewhere in Cape Town or in Durban or in the Kruger National Park in a private resort, when you shoot there and you land there and stop there and just take a moment and think, I would never, ever in my life have been here if it weren't for what I'm doing. And those are incredible moments. You stand there and you just take a moment to breathe in and realize you're in a just incredible place. I had a wedding last year in the Kruger National Park, which in an area that's high-end luxury. And you just take a moment and think it's so few people have been here, and you get to shoot there and see the wildlife and just enjoy a couple of days with your clients. And that's quite remarkable. That's every time that sort of makes you proud.
Do you get nervous or anxious at all when you show up to a location that's so beautiful and you're like, oh my gosh, I I have to do a good job here, because it's definitely not the venue's fault if something goes awry.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say nervous when you get there. You get hyper focused. So I arrive and I'm focused on what I'm supposed to do throughout. I've certain things throughout the wedding day that I'm always nervous. When the first dance comes, nerves, that's when I'm at my most nervous for some reason. The rest of the day I'm fine.
What an interesting part of the day.
I think I focus quite a lot on just making an incredible first dance shot, but it's not just the shot, but can we get the energy and the vibe from the first dance in the shot? And you've got a minute or two before everyone jumps on the dance floor, so you need to nail that magic shot and the base shot and the magic shot in a minute. And I think that's usually the sort of nervous part of the day.
Do you have any kind of internal conversation with yourself when you don't get that, when you miss the look that you were looking for, or don't strike the gold that you were trying to do?
If I'm not getting the shot, then return to basics. If for some reason you're shooting and it's not inspiring, you're not getting the shot, then go back, shoot the basics first, and then adding elements. The same as sort of lighting something, starting basic and then just adding a gel with a light, or adding a prism, or adding something that reflects, flip the shot upside down, something that can make it, after you've got that basic, just add the element to it and try and make it.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart approach. I think I've often gotten in the car after a wedding that didn't feel like I executed everything properly, or I didn't hit that mark I was looking for, and I have to kind of give myself my internal pep talk in order to go home and feel good about it and sleep well. And in those moments when I'm trying harder, I think what you're saying is precisely it. Just go, hey, you know what? This thing I'm trying, that's not working, and my job is to make sure that these evidenced photos are captured. So let's just strip it back to taking photos with a bounce flash and seeing what I can throw into there to mix it up.
Yeah, and first and foremost, making sure you get the basics. If things are not working, the basic might very well be more than enough for the client, but you're putting pressure on yourself to create magic all the time. So if for some reason you're not getting it, just step back a moment and do the basic shot first.
Have you had any decisions as you've crafted your business and your brand along the way that have not worked out, that were bad ideas that then kind of flopped? I'd be interested to hear how those happened and maybe what the results were of those.
I think I tried my hand at sort of, or just tried the video, planned for it at some stage, but literally just early parts, and realized that it's not me. It's not something that I'm comfortable with. I absolutely love shooting images, and I've got a bunch of friends I can refer in a heartbeat if we need to shoot video on a project. That, and I think the biggest thing for me is waiting to make good decisions in terms of business, not taking action quickly enough. That's always the sort of the big note I keep for myself, is just take action when that needs to arrive in terms of business decisions.
What's been one of the better decisions you've made in that same
I did a workshop 2020, a Jonas Peterson workshop, and he talked a lot about audio and emotion. A lot of his work was emotion based, sort of what's the story about that emotion. And I started recording audio as an extra during the ceremony and the toasts, and that's been sort of a massive game changer in what I deliver for the client in the end. I keep the slideshow images as is, and I just drop in a clip from the groom's speech or the bride's speech or the father's speech. And post-wedding, you hand the client, say, here's, I've got the audio for you with your everything else on your USB or in your gallery, and just the smiles from them when they know they've got those memories that they can keep. So that's been quite a big difference to use that.
That's I don't think I've met anyone else who's doing that. Is that something you're just doing on your phone, or are you tying in with the DJ to really get the audio? And it's in place of, like, obviously a videographer might be getting that, but if they're not there, you're the only source of truth for that.
I started with my phone just to see can it work, and then I bought a small Zoom, and I've now got a DJI mic. So if needed, I plug in the Zoom, and I use the portable DJI for just a lapel mic, and all of them create.
And do they know? Do your clients know prior to the day of that you are going to be doing this, or is this a total surprise to them?
If I'm only using the Zoom, then it's a surprise. But if it's the DJI, then say, hey, I'm just recording audio, and sometimes they see and it's like, okay, cool, that's quite a nice add-on, or the day's too busy and they only after the fact say, okay, that's what that was about. But it is quite a nice surprise afterwards, and it's the easiest, most effortless thing to do. If you plug into the DJ, if you plug into the DJ, it's literally plug in and go and stop the recording when you're done.
Wow, that's brilliant. I used to do, it's one of those many ideas I wish I'd kept up with for client satisfaction. And I would bring a little Instax printer and I would send photos from my camera to my phone, do a quick little Lightroom edit, and then print them out and put them in the thank you card that I would drop in their box.
Oh,
and then that way, the next day, when they would be busting through their thank you cards over lunch, they'd run across mine and be like, oh my gosh, we didn't know we were going to get two physical pictures that are actually like really good images because they're from my SLR.
Yes.
And it was just that one little because I might not get them a preview for a day or a week or two or ever, and that way it's like guaranteed and locked in.
Yes.
But I really love the idea of grabbing audio and dropping that over their deliverable slideshow. Have you done a slideshow for your clients for a long time? Has that been your effective approach of a deliverable along with your obviously full gallery?
I think as it works as a deliverable and as a marketing, just for a social marketing perspective. But around about 2020, I think everyone sat down and just said, I need to look at my business and how I approach things. And that was sort of part of the whole ad audio. It's such a simple thing to do. And in a competitive industry, that's a very small thing to make you stand out. But it doesn't cost you a lot as a business to do.
Wow,
and then
that's
marketing's
so great.
perspective, you can quickly create a reel for a client and just I use QuickTime for the gallery system, and it takes a couple of minutes. The longest part of the process is getting the right audio for the song, and you send them a reel and say, I've got a reel ready for you, and they can market it for you. So
wow, that's such a unique and really freaking great idea. Obviously, like slideshows, Pixel dropped smart slides like years ago, and I think I messed with it for a moment. And similar to the Instax or building a wedding album for every single client, my own procrastination didn't follow through with all that. But the snagging audio on the day of is that's huge. I just have to imagine your clients feel so honored and seen on their day that you really want that, because no one would expect a photographer to grab any of that kind of stuff. So I would imagine that's really, really successful for you.
And audio.
What camera you carry? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. The audio just carries so much emotion. So that's, I think, for me, from my perspective, audio is just, you see the image, you hear the voice, and it's just emotion, whichever direction you want to send it.
Is that the same approach that you were hoping to get out of your attempt at video, but obviously that route didn't go the way you hoped? That you grab that kind of emotion from it?
At that stage, I wasn't sure. Video was just to expand the business. See, is it better to do it myself? Is it better to bring someone in? What direction? And I just realized logistic-wise, I'm so focused on images that if I do add video full-time, then it would be better to either refer to local friends or bring someone in full-time. But I didn't even get to the part where I can see how much emotion or the type of storytelling I would want to do with it.
It can be really hard. You're a really talented photographer, obviously, and I've struggled with, I've spent so much time investing my knowledge into how to be a photographer that if I were to start shooting video tomorrow, it would be quite literally square one.
Yes.
And that just seems daunting and frustrating, and the entire process of it, from storage to batteries to gear to creation to editing seems like it's going to be such a long road to get to the point where it's even close to comparable to the photos.
Yeah. Now, at this, it might be better to start a separate business to get that going and then bring it in when it's on par with your current work. That you don't detract from your work when you start offering video the one weekend and photo the next weekend.
Yeah, especially if you split it up. Do you keep your business as it is now? Do you have different businesses for your studio and corporate work, or is it all just under the same thing?
Different. Wedding is wedding focused alone, so weddings and couples, and then the family and the corporate work is different, and it's very local. That's only marketed locally, and I only shoot that in the sort of regional area that I work in. That makes marketing much easier, and clients know your name, but it's just a much comfortable way to work that.
Yeah, I think it's less confusing for someone too that's looking you up. Like, wait, is this guy good? A little good at a bunch of things? Or is he really good at one thing? And if you have multiple brands, you get to be really good at a bunch of things, at least visually speaking.
Yeah, and you want to keep tabs on it, that you don't split the brands too far and too many brands that you sit and do admin 3-4 hours a day just to keep tabs on everything.
Yeah, I think that was a Sam Hurd thing pretty early on. I was shooting kind of everything, and then I saw that him, along with another couple of people at that time, your Dylans and Sarahs and Phil Chesters and whatnot, I went, well, these guys only shoot kind of one thing. They just shoot weddings. Obviously, they are doing other things, but under their main brand, they just shoot one thing. So I'm going to cut everything away, and I'm going to like really hone in on the fact that I'm a wedding photographer, not a photographer.
Yes. And when people contact me, they contact me for weddings, and every now and then you'll get a client that asks, listen, do you do this by any chance? And then you say, I've got a whole different website, different brand, I've got it ready for you, price this. And then we take that from there.
Yeah, that's great. What's the camera that you're carrying with you most days? Obviously when you're working as a photographer, you've got your gear, but do you mentioned that you're splitting your family and work time really well.
Yes.
Are you good at documenting your own existence and your family and your life with something?
iPhone, and if we go on holiday, we take the Instax. There's something about just stopping and shooting the Instax, and we've got a stack of Instax prints. It's a different memory. The quality is not that great. It's an old Instax, but it is a memory that's sort of frozen and stopped, and not too much thinking. You stop, you take the shot, and that's a memory. So the Instax work quite well for us.
Do you find that the iPhone is giving you like just a library of endless photos, and the Instax is able to kind of pull that back and say, let me actually be intentional about this couple of photos of my kids at the beach today, rather than here's 600 that I'll never look at again?
It is, and you get the sort of a Instax frame, and you can put a couple of frames in and have a look at, and it's just more moments that are paused, and you take more time looking at it instead of scrolling through a whole gallery. And so we love it. We've got a couple of stacks of film, and whenever we have an adventure weekend or a holiday coming up, then the Instax is probably the main camera for that.
I love that the analog form continues to like strive through and push through the trends and whatnot. I'm stoked to see that point and shoot film cameras, like the Gen Z kids, are all about it. And for me, that just means there's more labs to send film to, and I'm happy with that. I like that experience. I'm glad that Instax exists. I really hope we see that getting. It's obviously kind of loud right now, but I hope it gets louder and louder. That there's more and more of
it, and continues.
More companies making new stuff.
Yes. Yeah, and Instax, they're bringing out sort of incredible frames, and they're pushing a market that's slowly growing, but it stays relevant, and it keeps the equipment available and the film available, and that's what we want. Certain stocks of film have gone away, and then they've come back recently, so that's good to see how film is sort of just slowly still available and ready to print and to go through the process.
Yeah. And my big question and the self-title of this podcast, what's your problem? What are you working on right now? You're obviously really successful. Things are going really well. You're winning awards. I saw you were the best of the best for Junebug this year. What are you working on that needs to be changed or progressed?
I think social relevance. It's sort of a branch theme for putting work out constantly, but not necessarily having that work connect with someone and then taking that through the whole process of connecting with that person and then pushing that through to yourself. So social relevance in terms of what I put out, communicating very directly. Today I post an engagement shoot, and then when someone sees that, do they just see an image and they scroll through, or do I have a call to action from them? And then making sure the client goes through that process where they can see only engagement images when they go through that process, not being bombarded with wedding images or this or that, but being direct with my communication. If it makes sense
really,
in that process.
Yeah, really giving a pipeline to the kind of inquiry that's getting into your inbox and making sure that they get through the end. What approach are you taking to work on that?
At this stage, I'm trying to see how I could, when I do post, working in a way that I get the client very specific info for what that post is. If I post a wedding today, then that link where they send me a message or a text or an email, just getting them through to a process where they can see more wedding images and sort of making a sale from a business perspective.
The same for is that tweaking like your contact? Is that tweaking your contact form and the kinds of questions that you ask on your website? Is that part of one of the main approaches of that?
At this stage, the pros, I'm looking at sort of just building separate pages on the website, like a landing page that's very specific to each post, and then sort of categories. And then when I do post something, that it's not always about brand awareness or posting client images, but that every action is a sale that goes through to get the client through the process. And somewhere along the line, they can either bail out of the process or they're interested and they would want to book. So that's the big thing I'm working on, to make sure the business stay relevant and make sure that you don't just go off on a path and a couple of months down the line realize the work's not coming in. So did
that happen because of this is a solution to a problem that exists? Was there a problem that existed where clients were inquiring with you and you felt that they weren't getting, you were answering questions that should have been answered passively along the way?
I think I noticed at some stage that I'm posting work and it's good work, but that work gets a couple of likes or a couple of views, all that goes up, but that the sale and all the action stops there. You get one or two, you might get a spike on the website, but there's no action from that spike coming through. And then realizing I need to do something. I'm doing all the work, I'm putting out the content, getting all the attention, getting the clients on the website, and then nothing happens from that. Realizing there's a fall off happening, and I'm not doing enough to keep that client coming through. So that's sort of the focus.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable to catch. I think that you could really fall into complacency at any stage in this business and go, hey, inquiries are coming in. Here's the percentage of people that inquire. Here's the percentage of people that book. Sweet, got my money. Let's go pay rent. But now to say, hey, I always look at every year going, all right, there's like problems that are annoying me. If a client is asking me the same 2 or 3 questions along the process every year, then I'm not answering that somewhere else in my pipeline, workflow, paperwork, website, whatever it may be. So that's pretty great that you're able to see that and go, hey, I need to work on that. Are you doing that same kind of a thing or have to do the same kind of a thing in your other business where you're working on corporate and family things?
Not too much. When I do get a client for the corporate, that's more of that's a need-based business, if I can put it that way. I can see the flow is quite even. I get the website, the amount of hits leading to inquiries and then to possible bookings flows the way it should be. Whereas for weddings, you get a lot of attention online, and that's from friends and family watching the images or just your followers, and then getting a spike to the website, and then not as much inquiries, and just making sure that people get a flow from that they don't just go to a contact form, but it's more clear, direct communication. I think the contact form should literally just be there if someone finds you through SEO. If I take a client from social media, be more direct with that communication. That when they do go somewhere, that you talk to them, make them feel heard, and sort of they know you're talking directly to them, and taking that
in
through
your
a process.
In your client inquiry and booking process, are these audio captured slideshows? Are those one of the items or pieces of work that you're passing along to potential clients as well, or are they just catching those out in the wild on your socials?
It's not too often on the socials, but it's in the first email. The first email, it's sort of a write-up, and trying to push for a meeting, and then right at the end, look at this that I captured at a recent wedding. It's amazing that I got the groom's audio or the speech. I tell that little story, and I put a link to a recent slideshow just to get them to see what I mean about audio in the slideshow. And if it leads with a groom's speech, then that is already there. They can feel it. They understand exactly what it's about. And that's sort of that differentiate. When you compete with someone else, you've already got that small edge coming through.
I think that's so powerful. Similarly, something I do in my intro email is I send them a number of full galleries, and I tell them any photographer that they're working with, they should ask for these, because I want the client, whether I'm going to book them or not, to be educated and book the correct photographer. Yes. And I also feel confident in that when compared to another photographer's full gallery that they're inquiring with, that they're going to look at mine and see the clear difference.
Yes.
And I think that's something that started, like Robert J. Hill, I think, mentioned that kind of early in one of his workshops from years and years ago I grabbed. And I think it's really strong to send your best stuff or the stuff that you think is the most impactful, like your slideshows with audio, right away and go, hey, I know I'm great, and you've inquired me, and I know the guy down the street that you're going to inquire with does not have the same content, so I'm confident in my work, and I know that you will deliver upon that.
And be relevant in that process. If a client, we've got a lot of weddings on game farms or game lodges, so if that client inquires, then send content that comes from a game farm or a game lodge or that exact venue, that they see first. They sort of see you've shot there, you know what the place is like, and you've created magic. I stay in an area that can be seasonal with lots of rain. If the client's concerned about weddings, send them a rain wedding and show them what you can do when it's absolutely pouring with rain, a terrible day, that they sort of feel comfortable this guy can do the job when needed.
That's so huge. Just answering their questions before they even got it is within your similarly, when people put a bunch of travel dates on their website, it says, hey, you're a client who might not fly often, but that shouldn't be an inhibitor to booking this photographer. Look at all these places he goes. He flies all the time. Don't even worry about it. And I think showing rain weddings and showing the kind of diverse work that you can do is just, it's so powerful.
Yes. And I think making a client comfortable, it's such a big decision. There's so much money involved. Just making sure that they can see things will work with this person, we'll work together, but that person can do the job. Our investment is safe. Sort of just assuring them in the process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ron, thank you so much for your time and insight today. Just simply this slideshow with audio is kind of racking my brain of things I wish I had thought of years ago, and anybody that's listening, I hope grabs onto it too. It's such a great idea. And it's evident that you've been running a really, really calculated and successful business, which is hard in the arts. You're a creative ultimately, and doing the business part sucks, and you're doing both really, really, really well.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. And I think, appreciate the opportunity to just have this chat.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time today, and I'm stoked to chat more soon.
Perfect. I'll enjoy. Thank you for the time.